The Pistons have had a quiet offseason. They haven't made many moves. They haven't made a blockbuster trade or signed a superstar. They didn't make any moves that completely changed the direction of their roster. Instead, it seems like we're taking the patient approach, letting our young pieces develop. It seems as if we're betting on development. And the best part is, we have no idea how this is going to turn out 1 year from now. Detroit has built a phenomenal young core, but unfortunately, young cores with great potential don't win championships. At some point, those players have to actually turn into what Detroit thinks they can be, and our future depends on it. Think about where this team is right now. Cade Cunningham is obviously the centerpiece. That's the part of the equation that we feel probably the most comfortable about. But everything surrounding him is kind of a question mark, because Detroit's not betting on one player to develop, they're betting on multiple to develop. And the most interesting part is each player is a gamble on a different part of development. Assar is a gamble on shooting. Ron Holland, he's a gamble on turning that raw athleticism into reliable two-way production. For Duren, it's consistency and defense. And we can even throw the rookie in there. For Ebuka Okorie, it's a gamble on whether we didn't trade that pick or not for him. And what makes this so interesting is that we don't need every single player to hit, but we need a couple. And if a couple hit, we can be a completely different team in the future. The question though is which ones will hit. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about each player in depth. Real quick guys, if you like this kind of content, please make sure to subscribe. And I'm doing a giveaway on this video right here. So if you go comment on this video and you're subscribed, I'm gonna pick a name from the comment list and you'll win a free Detroit Pistons jersey. Just wanted to throw that out there. Let's hop into the video though. Assar Thompson might be the most fascinating one that we speak about today, because defensively, the talent is obvious. The athleticism is ridiculous, the instincts are ridiculous, the length is ridiculous. But offensively, there is obviously a question mark still hanging over his head. Can he be enough of a shooter to stay relevant on the floor when it matters? That is the entire gamble with Assar. He can literally do everything else at par or above. The big question mark is, can he shoot? Playoff basketball exposes weaknesses. If Assar can't shoot, teams can ignore him. It can clog the paint, send extra defenders to help a little more aggressively, and it leads to bad outcomes. But if he's able to develop a jump shot, his value is immense. Skyrockets even. But again, the other side of the coin, if the shot never develops, teams will exploit that weakness. And that's the gamble. Detroit doesn't need Assar to become a superstar that shoots 40% from three. They need him to be complete enough on the offensive side to where we can't take him off. Then you have Ron Holland. I love Ron Holland. He's got that fucking motor, dude. He is literally the perfect example of a Detroit basketball player. Athletic, aggressive, great motor, raw athleticism. But he's raw. Pause. The question isn't if he has talent, it's whether we can make that talent consistent. And I feel like that distinction matters. If he can develop a reliable jumper, if he can become more disciplined on defense, suddenly you're looking at a legitimate two-way wing. But the gamble is that he has to improve in a few areas at once. And I don't mean to harp on you, Holland, because I believe you've got it, man. You're a dog, believe me. He has to become a dependable shooter. And one of the biggest problems I personally noticed this past season was it felt like every time he had the ball, he turned it into a rushed attack. He would just put his head down and fly towards the rim, and I felt like that led us into bad positions. Learning to play within the team rather than trying to create your own offensive shot every time would do wonders, and I know he's got that in him, so I'm not worried about it. I think this year we're going to see a crazy leap from Ron Holland. Jaylen Duran might be the easiest person on this list. We've already seen what he can do. He's a productive NBA player at this rate. But I think there's still another level available that we are hoping he reaches, which is why these contract negotiations have stalled. Can he become a good defender? Can he become a better passer? Can he become someone you trust defensively and honestly offensively on a consistent basis in the playoffs? Because if he does, Detroit would obviously love to have you around. But the concern is that Duren's athleticism and overall build makes it easy to look past the things that he could improve upon. Being a great rebounder is not the same as being a defensive anchor. And finishing lobs is not the same as being a complete offensive center. Duren has all the physical tools to make that next step. And based on what we've seen over the last few years, I'm very confident he will take another leap as well. His defensive awareness, positioning, and decision-making will determine how much we're able to keep him out on the floor next year. Because against elite teams, he has all of the physical tools to be a difference maker. He just has to turn those tools into consistent habits. If he can protect the rim without constantly being pulled out of position, communicate defensively, and become a better passer, him and Cade could run the East for a decade. He also needs to prove that he can hold his own against different playoff matchups. We saw in this playoffs, it was ugly against Wendell Carter, and against Evan Mobley it was also tough as well. But that's the gamble. The Pistons aren't betting that he will be a productive regular season center. They're gambling that he will be a productive playoff center from here on out. Last but not least, we've got the rookie, Ebuka Okorie. Trajan Langdon had an option when this pick came up. He could have either drafted Ebuka Okorie, or he could have traded the pick. He could have packaged the asset with another selection or player or whatever it may be and gotten a vet, a productive contributor day one. And that decision tells me everything I need to know about how Trajan Langdon is playing the game. The gamble with Okorie is different than the other players. And quite frankly, I think he might have the most pressure than all of them. Our biggest weakness in the playoffs was that Cade was bullied, I guess is a way to put it. Everyone targeted him when he had the ball in his hands because he was the only one who could kind of do anything with the ball in his hands. That led to a lot of turnovers, a lot of bad decision making, a lot of unnecessary errors on our end. Detroit isn't simply betting on Okorie to be a great player. They're betting that he can take a load off of Cade Cunningham day one. They believe he can develop into an isolation scorer that will help take a lot of the pressure off of Cade Cunningham. And that's a pretty big responsibility for a 19-year-old guy coming right out of college. This one's hard to talk about though because he's a rookie, and he looked great in college. So with this, I'm not really sure what he needs to do rather than show up and play some ball for now, If he's able to take some pressure off of Cade, that's the gamble for now. The reason this is such a big gamble was because a lot of fans did not want this pick. So Ebuka Okorie is already coming in hated in a sense because people felt like this wasn't what we needed. He's got doubters on day one. And now it's almost like if he does not contribute and become a star, it was a failure. Here's the thing about development. Unfortunately, you don't control it. You can give players great opportunities, great coaching, great training, but eventually the player has to get better. And sometimes they don't. And that's why rebuilding through young players can be so risky, because each player has a different obstacle to overcome that needs specific help. I talked about 4 guys who have 4 separate challenges. And you can look at these 4 players and assume that if all 4 of them don't become stars, then it's a failure. But I don't think that's the truth. The reality of the NBA is, out of these 4 players, you might get 1 star, 2 role players, and 1 that is never anything. That's just the reality of the NBA. To tie it back around, guys, we have 4 young guys with tons of potential. And potential is exciting. But potential does not win championships. Development does. And right now, the entire Pistons organization depends on development. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys want to see some more videos, they're right here for you. If not, no worries. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. And again, that giveaway is on my last video. Go shoot a comment on there. That'll be all, guys. See you in the next one. Peace.